disappointing. Let's get to the Bills and the Texans. Oh, man. Okay, well, we're going to get to another one where we probably have a rant here. The Houston Texans end up winning this game 23-20. So let's talk about the top 5 graded players for the Houston Texans. Danielle Hunter, their top graded player here with a 76.4. Wide receiver Stephon Diggs with a 75.2. Linebacker Henry To'oTo'o with a 75.1. Derek Stingley Jr. with a 74.9. And then Will Anderson Jr. with a 74.1. CJ Stroud in this game, he had the highest grade of anybody, but we separate quarterbacks here on the show to make sure that we can point them out for every team. 80.6. You flip to the other side of things for Buffalo. Edge rusher Dwayne Smoot with an 85.3. Center Connor McGovern with an 84.0. Linebacker Dorian Williams with a 78.2. Daquan Jones with a 77.2. And the Christian Benford with a 76.3. Don't see this number very often next to Josh Allen, at least not anymore. A 48.1 overall grade for this performance here. What is your stat that actually, you know what? I'm going to start with the stat to tell the story because it's a good transition there from Josh Allen. My stat that told the story is how Josh Allen played under pressure in this game. Josh Allen has been pretty dang good under pressure.
The best.
Over the last 3 years specifically, right? Since he has had his renaissance, I am now Josh Allen, type of evolution from what we saw at Wyoming and in the early couple of years that he was with the Bills. Versus pressure against Houston yesterday, 15 dropbacks, 13 total passing attempts, 0 completions, 0 against pressure, 2 turnover-worthy plays. He had a 26.3 passing grade. That's the third lowest single game performance under pressure that he has had since 2021. Josh Allen just does not play like this under pressure. And even if you get a little bit better from Josh Allen, let alone like what you can normally expect from him, they probably win this game, right? They only lose it at the end because, we'll get into the late game management in a second. But that to me is the stat that told the story. The floor for Josh Allen was lower against pressure than it has been over the last 3 years. And that was very, very surprising how he played because normally you pressure this guy and he turns into a gem. He's the reason why you win football games. And he just was not that at a historically bad level for Josh Allen standards, certainly over the last 3 years. So that, to me, was the stat that told the story. What about you? What do you got?
All right, so twofold here with the passing game, okay? Because for me, game plan of the week goes to D'Amico Ryans and Matt Burke on their defensive staff for the Texans. Look, who coming into this game, easy question, who coming into this game was the Bills' best receiver against man coverage?
Who's the best Bills receiver against man coverage? Nico.
No, for the Bills. Easy question.
Khalil
Shakir.
Okay.
The guy who was out.
I thought you were trying to trick me.
Nope. Nope, not at all.
So
I needed the obvious answer on that one.
Right.
I just felt like having you participate. So, Khalil Shakir out for this game, right? The Texans running not every play, obviously, but more man coverage in this game than they usually do. And even when they didn't go man coverage across the board, you saw some half-field concepts where they would match up on one side and go zone on the other, depending on formations. But they went with a lot more kind of single coverage scenarios with their secondary, rightfully so, because I think they're learning how good Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter are as a pair.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
Bills wide receivers in this game had 3 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. The Keon Coleman touchdown where Lassiter missed the tackle. The one play basically their wide receivers made all day. Okay, 2 other catches from Mac Hollins. The Bills were charted. Okay, our quarterback charting charts receiver separation as well. Open on only 11 of their 26 targets in this game. Okay, 0 for 6 on deep balls. Josh Allen was 1 for 14 on balls thrown 10+ yards downfield. The one completion to Dalton Kincaid on an in route. Okay. The lack of – this was the game, I think – last week it was more of a case of like the Ravens just didn't give up explosives. They were sitting back. They were like, yeah, fine, throw it 6 yards. Go ahead. This was a game without Shakir in there where we finally got the fear of like, oh, the Bills don't have like that guy. They don't have Stephon Diggs, ironically. This was the game we found that out because it was just the Texans gotten a lot more man coverage and match coverage where they were winning every battle one-on-one down the field. So, yes, Allen was bad. Definitely. Absolutely. What did he finish? Like 9 for 32 or something crazy? Like I've never seen a number like that.
Was it 9 for 30? What was it?
It was something somewhere in that range. It was like 9
for 30.
9 for 30 in this game. I mean, that's rare. And part of the reason it happened is when I tell you nobody was open, hardly nobody was open unless the Texans busted a coverage, and I think 2 of those 9 completions were on a screen. So you think about 7 real completions on the day. Nobody was open all day long. Coleman broke a tackle, got a long touchdown, got him back in the game. That's the only play any Bills receiver made all game. This was the game that people feared when they traded Stephon Diggs. It's this game, is they just don't. And even though they, the Coleman play got him back into it and the game ended the way it did, this is the first reason they lost this game, is because they fell behind and they had nobody getting open at all. And when they fall behind, they couldn't run it more with James Cook, which they were effectively doing. They need Khalil Shakir back in the worst way. And it feels like a weird thing to say, honestly.
What about most impressive for this one? Before we get into most disappointing, because I know we got another rant to get on. Most impressive.
Go to the other side, CJ Stroud. There are times he gets in this rhythm. He reminds me of Peyton Manning. Sometimes I watch him and I'm like, that's Peyton Manning. There's times he gets in this rhythm. Okay, there's 4 big-time throws in this game, 331 yards. Nico Collins only played the first quarter. I think he left the game after his big touchdown, right? And he's been the best receiver in football this year. CJ Stroud in this game, in rhythm, 14 for 17, 242 yards, 3 big-time throws, and a 91 passing grade. There's just times when he gets hot and he really sees the field in that 2.5 seconds. Good luck. There's no stopping him. It reminds me so much of Peyton Manning, because there were stretches of games you remember all the time when you could like almost feel it in the air that Peyton Manning would get hot and there was just no stopping him. He was about to complete 15 balls in a row. That's where CJ Stroud is right now. And that's to me, especially early in this game, that's where he got. And then his sense of situational football.
Yeah,
it's just awesome. He is so far ahead of his years. As a second-year guy, it's ridiculous. I don't even look at him as a second-year guy. That's one of the smartest quarterbacks in football, and the way he sees the field, it's just unreal.
I mean, you talked about Dak, that veteran presence that he had, and that floor for him over the last couple of weeks to at least be able to win you some football games. CJ Stroud's floor, it feels even higher than that. Like CJ Stroud's floor, a bad game at the office for CJ Stroud is still one that can win you football games every single week. So he is truly putting on a clinic. I'm glad that you shouted him out as the most impressive. My most impressive, I'm going to go with linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair for the Houston Texans as well. 61 snaps in this game, which is tied for the most of anybody on the team. 75.3 run defense and had 8 tackles to lead the team. He was also spying Josh Allen. Like when we were watching the game, he was sort of like, he had that assignment of spying Josh Allen and making sure if he left the pocket, he was in his face very quickly. He was handling space very well as well, where sometimes like if you're the spy and okay, there's a good chance where he might be able to pass it, or if there's somebody kind of coming behind me, you almost have to create a threat, right, where you want to make it so Josh is hesitant about taking off to run with it, but you can't completely blow the coverage that might be behind you. You have a guy who's maybe coming into your zone, or you might be able to help out. He just felt like he had a really good feel for being in that role yesterday, which is an incredibly difficult task against a player of Josh Allen's caliber. So wanted to shout him out as the most impressive here. Your most disappointing, before we kind of like tag team what the most disappointing overall is.
Got an FAU legend in there. Always loved that. Now, also a great play as the Tampa 2 hole defender down the seam. There was a play, I forget who he was covering, but he ran somebody down the seam and broke up a pass to. He was terrific yesterday. For me, disappointing, A.J. Epinesa. You've got Von Miller suspended, obviously. You need someone to step up off the edge, and really Epinesa has to be the guy. But 31 pass rush snaps, just 2 cleanup pressures, a 3% pass rush win rate, doesn't fly at all. 50 run D grade, 39.5 overall grade. If they're going to get better on this defensive line, they really need Epinesa to be that guy across from Greg Rousseau right now.
The most disappointing, I think it has to be Sean McDermott and Joe Brady. Right, and however much blame you necessarily want to put on either of those guys, McDermott said afterwards when he was at the podium, like, "Hey, it's on me. I'm the head coach. That's clock management." And so anybody that sort of missed it, what happened was the game was tied. Buffalo gets the football. They force Houston to punt, so they get the ball at their own 3-yard line. So admittedly, not a good situation here. You're in a situation where I think there was less than a minute left. Houston had all 3 of their timeouts. So what McDermott was trying to do was stay aggressive to basically say, okay, well, if we don't pick up a first down, they're going to get the ball back either way. But, I don't want to be too, I don't want to be too like revisionist history here, because we often ask our offensive coordinators and our head coaches to be more aggressive. I think we complain much more about a lack of aggressiveness than criticize when it happens. There's going to be a game that we're going to get to here with the Bengals and the Ravens where we're going to talk about the opposite. But it has to be a good balance, and it wasn't a good balance, I think, on either side. For the McDermott side of things, they threw the ball 3 straight times because they wanted to try to pick up the first down. And then when the first one went incomplete, well, then they thought they were behind the 8 ball. Now at the 3-yard line, we don't want to run it just because then all they do is take 1 timeout off the clock. Now we can't even burn all 3 timeouts for the team. So then they wanted to keep their foot on the gas and stay aggressive. You want to keep the ball in the hand of your best player in Josh Allen, but it was incomplete. Then you punt the ball to Houston, and then they throw 1 short pass with 8 seconds left, and they're able to call a timeout because they have a timeout to call. And in reality, in that same exact situation, if you would have run the ball 3 times, if you would have forced Houston to take all 3 of their timeouts, that play probably doesn't exist anyways because they're not going to have the opportunity to spike the football. And so it's tough to look back at it and look at those 3 passing calls and not think that they did not handle that correctly at all whatsoever. And McDermott said so, but it feels like it's a larger issue now with some late game blunders by McDermott that has happened over the last couple of years.
I'll hit that in a second because I have the list of them here. Look. Actually, I think on those 3 plays, I don't think Josh Allen made the wrong throws when you look at the coverage and things. And the third one especially, was just that Will Anderson was in his lap in about a second and a half. I don't think Allen did much wrong. And I think, too, they have to understand the feel of the game. They were running the ball well in this game. They stood a better chance than trying to get 70 yards and get in field goal range right there. And if they were just trying to get 1 first down, cool. But you could have run a screen. You could have done so many other more conservative things to get 10 yards. I just think this is not news. Like, this is actually, the Bills losing like this is the least shocking thing of the day. Because this is what they do. Like, if you look at, let's go back, I'm going to go all the way back to 2021. Okay, I've got the list here. I had to make the list, okay? They lost a game to New England when there was 60-mile-an-hour winds and the Patriots threw the ball 3 times. Okay.
Not great.
They lost a game to Tennessee where they tried a QB sneak and Josh Allen's foot slipped, and there was some arguments as to whether they should have even ran that because it didn't work earlier in the game. We're still in 2021 only, okay? Mm-hmm. The 13-second game against the Chiefs, famous. I'm going to be honest with you, that game, considering the rest of these I'm about to list off, that game is this regime's legacy.
Yeah.
It's the embodiment of Josh Allen does everything he can try to do to win the game, and in 13 seconds, it unravels, right? Then you've got the Vikings game where Justin Jefferson makes the catch on 4th and 18, and they fumble for the safety. A Dolphin game where they had the ball for like 46 minutes and lost somehow. Last year's Chiefs game in the playoffs, but when, honestly, McDermott got bailed out by Jordan Poyer punching a ball out on the 1-yard line. Remember the fake punt at their own 30 that didn't work at all?
Yes.
If Jordan Poyer doesn't punch that ball out at the 1 and the Chiefs score, we look at Sean McDermott and the Bills a lot different. Offside on a field goal against the Broncos. Losing a game to Zach Wilson in week 1 last year. Blowing a lead against Mac Jones in New England when Josh Allen gave you a lead with like 90 seconds left. The Eagles game last year when everybody knew Jalen Hurts was running every play. And there are so many. This isn't news. And I hate to always just be like, oh, situational football that's the NFL. But the Bills, when they're on, they're dominant and they win by 30.
I know. It's hard to quit this team because
any
of that.
close game they're in. No, I picked them to win the playoffs, but I know there's 0 chance they're winning a Super Bowl.
No.
0.
But you predict them to get to the playoffs
because of Josh Allen. And then this will show up because it's shown up for 4 years. How many times do we have to do this before it's just not news anymore?
Maybe a fifth.
I looked at the
Maybe
way
sixth.
I looked at the way yesterday went, and
7.
I was mildly irritated watching again, and I was like, oh, that's what they do. They play great, or Allen claws them back into games, and they find a way to screw it up. I don't know why this is. It's not shocking at all. This is what they've done. That 13-second game against the Chiefs, that was 3 years ago. That's their legacy, and it will be because even Josh Allen with all his power can't break that. It's not anybody blaming Josh Allen. I know he was bad yesterday. This is a consistent thing. It just is. It's every year you're going to get 4 or 5 of these from the Bills, and nothing changes.